Hey guys, welcome back to the Business Method Podcast. I'm Chris Reynolds, and today we have Jeremy Parker on the line. Jeremy is a co-founder and CEO of swag.com, and I love that domain, by the way. I'm going to have to ask you, Jeremy, how you got that. Swag has been ranked number 218 on Inc. Magazine's top 5,000 list. They are a top e-commerce platform for purchasing promotional materials, offering a wide variety of customizable branded content. Swag warehouses products until customers would like to have them delivered to remote clients and employees in mass or individually. Jeremy and the Swag team have created some amazing results over the past few years. They did $365,000 in business in year one, $1.1 million in year two, $7 million in year three, and this last year in 2020 during the pandemic, $15.5 million. They have grown to over 2,000% over the first 3 years, creating partnerships with thousands of companies, including TikTok, Facebook, Google, Amazon, Netflix, and Spotify. Jeremy himself is a serial entrepreneur, having created multiple successful organizations over the course of his entrepreneurial career. Jeremy went on to start multiple companies with his brother, David, and notable partner, Jesse Itzler, co-founder of the Marquise Jets and the Atlanta Hawks. His first company, Tippet, an e-commerce platform that distributes unique promotional codes through social media, went on to be acquired by a publicly traded company. Jeremy himself was named one of Crain's New York 40 Under 40. And one of my favorite traits about him, Jeremy's passionate about spreading positivity and kindness in business while infusing awareness into how we consume. He's on the podcast today, guys. Jeremy, welcome to the show. How are you, man?
Thanks so much for having me. Great to be here.
When I read your bio, I know you're in New York. You're based in New York, right? You're in Jersey at the moment. But when I read your bio, it seems like you should be one of those young entrepreneur guys that has had his face up on Times Square as like a 40 under 40 guy or Inc. 5000 guy. Have you had that yet?
No, I never thought of myself like that for
No.
sure. No.
We interviewed another a lady on the podcast, and she did, is it 30 under 30 or 40 under 40? Under one of them. And she got her face up on Times Square also. D Azzarini? No, it was another girl. Anyway, after 400 podcasts, I forget who's who. But yeah, welcome to the show, man. How's life? How you doing? Is everything good?
Things are good. Yeah, I just had a baby. So we're in that kind of
Congrats.
6 month, thank you so much, period of like sleep training. We just got her first nap today, so we're all pumped about that.
That might be a really good question because we talk about like performance optimization a lot. So as a high achieving successful entrepreneur, for the past, decade or however long you've been doing it, how has your performance and sleep training and optimization shifted or changed? And what has changed for you since having that baby? Has your schedule changed? What's that look like?
Yeah, when I was much younger, I was waking up relatively late. I would say like 9, 10 o'clock. I was on my own schedule. I thought entrepreneurship meant you can make your own hours, which it does. But as I've grown, as I try to, I wouldn't say perfect my craft, but as I try to become a better entrepreneur, I think consistency and time management is really important. So having like a really early schedule, waking up a lot earlier. So I have my routine's definitely changed with my new baby. Because she doesn't sleep, or we're trying to get her to sleep, or some nights she doesn't sleep. So I'm constantly up, but I like pre-baby. It was like 6:30 in the morning, wake up, hour workout in the morning. I just had a very strict routine and I would never deviate from it. And now with the baby, things do change, do shift a little bit, but I'm still trying to find time for myself, which I think is very important for entrepreneurs to have that moment for themselves before the day starts so they can kind of clear their head and dive right into it.
Do you feel like your sleep is as good as it was pre-baby? And
No, absolutely not. No,
no.
I mean,
Okay.
way more things to worry about now, real life stuff to worry about. Things that I'm doing right now have a real impact in my wife and my kids. And for a long period of time, I was a single guy. I got married at 32. So my priorities have definitely shifted over the course of the years. And so it's, I think just in life, you have to just embrace the change, and it's been a really exciting year for us.
Yeah. So when you're a single person, and you can manage your time really, really well, right? Your output is significant. It's high. But your sleep is different now post baby. And how do you feel? Do you feel like you're putting the same output, or into your business and your personal life both? Or are you having to back off a little bit and rest more because the sleep's disrupted?
I It's a good question. I think my output is the same, but it's much more challenging for me to do the same output. So,
Okay.
I'm even working harder. And it's kind of a weird thing. The first 5 years, 4 years of the business, I thought I couldn't have worked harder. I was crazy. And now I feel like I'm even working that much, even harder to keep the same output because I have just a lot more things I have to accomplish every single day than I used to.
Right. That makes sense. Cool. But and you're working from home too now, right?
Working from home, yeah, I mean, it's been a
Yeah.
crazy year. The pandemic hit in March of last year. My wife was pregnant at the time, so we had to move out of the city because no one really, the city, New York City was the epicenter of the pandemic, and no one really knew the effects that would have on babies. So we moved into my parents' house for 4 months. Didn't see any friends. It was absolutely nuts. And then moved back to the city, had the baby, lived in my sister's apartment because we had to give up our apartment. And now we're living in our own place in New Jersey. So the last kind of 9 months have been like jumping around and living in different places just to make it work.
Yeah. And that's what I love about like the entrepreneurial spirit. It's not about it's about doing what's effective, right? When times change, you had to move out of the city, then back into the city, then into a sister's apartment, and now you're back in Jersey to make sure that everything works and continues. The business still grows, family's okay. Like it's about being adaptable, right?
For sure.
Yeah, cool. So swag.com, man, I got to ask you, how did you buy this domain back in the day? Where did you get it? Like, that's an amazing
Yeah.
domain.
Yeah, so when we started the business, we knew we needed to have a really strong brand. I mean, think of
Hmm.
the industry as a whole, promotional products. There's 30,000 companies in the space, and there's no go-to place that anyone thinks that that's the place to go get promotional products. There's no
Hmm.
brand in the space, which was always kind of curious to me. Like if Facebook's buying 1,000 t-shirts and they clearly care about their brand, wouldn't they want to work with a company that also cared about their brand? And it just felt weird that every single promotional product site just felt like schlocky throwaway. It's just not what you would want to go to, not a place you want to go to buy stuff.
Hmm.
And when we figured out, obviously we had to create a really strong brand, great user experience, but the name really does, play an impact. And we wanted to buy something that is so memorable. And swag is just like the perfect name. So we went after to try to buy it. This was in 2000, end of 2015, early 2016. And the person was asking for 1.2 million. Obviously we didn't have that. I was, even though I thought it was worth it, even at the time, it's just a lot of money to spend on an unproven model. Ultimately, we worked out a really kind of creative solution. We negotiated the person down to 200,000.
Hmm.
And then once we had that price, we still didn't have the money to pay for it. So we gave him some equity in the business, a small token of equity, and we were able to exclusively license and use the domain name for a 2-year period with the option to buy it at a $200,000 price tag. So then we could literally launch the business from 2016 with the name, with the brand. And ultimately, when we make enough sales or we prove that the model is worth it, then we would go all in and buy the domain. And that's what we did. About 6 months into it, we were making enough sales that we were able to raise a little bit of money with our track record to acquire the domain. It was, this most streamlined process possible for us.
Nice. What was your negotiation tactics to go from 1.2 million all the way down to 200K? Like, how are you communicating? Did you have a like a in
No,
between
no, no.
mediator?
We did ourselves, but I believe we got very lucky because the owner of the domain name who's selling it, I don't think he was marketing it to the right people. He was
Hmm.
he was marketing it to the buyer of like the Justin Bieber buyer, like the more urban definition of having swagger and I think if he just understood kind of the meaning and what the current buyer for the promotional industry, it's a $40 billion industry, is calling it, I
Hmm.
think it would have been very clear to him to go after Staples and go after 4imprint and go after all the biggest companies in our space. I'm sure they would have bought it, but maybe not. A lot of these companies didn't really think about it at that time 5 years ago. Now it would be obvious, but back then they might not have thought about it.
Yeah. And that was how long was that process? Did you say 6 months?
It was about 5 to 6 months back and forth.
Uh-huh.
Him going cold, not responding, him starting up the conversation, until at some point 200,000 made a little sense for him.
So were you entertaining ideas of other names during that time? Because I'm
Yeah,
sure,
tons. Yeah,
yeah,
we think of every other possible name, but it always came back to if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. Let's go all
yeah,
in. Let's make it happen.
yeah. I like that, man. I like that a lot. So you've been an entrepreneur for a long time. Was Tippet your very first business?
No, my first business was right when I graduated college. So I was a documentary filmmaker, and when I
Uh-huh.
was 18, I made this documentary with my brother called 1% that ultimately won the Vail Film Festival. And I remember I was at the Vail Film Festival, big festival, and there's half the room are these celebrities that everyone's heard of, and half the room are these more artistic, struggling artists. And I had like an internal gut check, and I asked myself, number one, am I good enough? And number two, do I really love what I'm doing? Is this like my career? Do I want to do this? And I honestly didn't think I was that good, even though we won. It was kind of like a weird kind of position to just win. I didn't feel like I had necessarily the skills to make this a career. And I also didn't really truly love it. You know, it wasn't really my true passion. I always wanted to be a marketing person, even before film school. And I just went the film route because I thought it would be the best way for me to learn how to tell stories. This was the early onset of YouTube. And I thought, you know, it'd be very worth it to be able to tell a story through the medium of video. So that's really how I found myself in video, but it wasn't really my passion. And then after college, I wanted to start a business. I didn't know what I was good at. So I started a t-shirt company. And I thought, you know, how hard could a t-shirt company be? It's very hard. Clip notes. But basically, when you start a company, I didn't know what I was good at. So I wanted to start something that I could learn everything, you know, production, manufacturing, and marketing, and PR, and how to build an e-commerce site. You know, this is before Shopify days. And to really, truly understand what I was good at. And when I launched that business, it was called Tees and Tats. Horrible name, impossible to remember or say. But basically, it was like $300 t-shirts. And it was super exclusive, limited edition, signed and numbered by this like world famous tattoo artist. And we were selling to, you know, 40 stores across the country. And we launched this in 2007. And if you remember 2007, this is when Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, all these banks were going under, the major recession. So we launched the business pretty much 3 months before the recession hit. Worst timing. All the stores we were selling to exactly went under. And we had to, as an entrepreneur, you have to pivot. You have to change. Like, who's going to be buying $300 t-shirts? So we came up with a marketing solution that at the time was kind of cute, but it's a little gimmicky, where we tied the price of our shirts to the price of the Dow Jones. So for every 100 points the Dow dropped, they would get a discount on their t-shirt price. Nice. And I wrote Mark Cuban a letter, and Mark Cuban was one of these bloggers. Obviously, he's Mark Cuban, multi-billionaire, but he also had a blog called Blog Maverick, which I was really getting into, trying to learn as much as I could as a young entrepreneur. I wrote him a note. I said, this is what I'm doing. And he responded within 10 minutes and said, do you mind if I post your story on my blog? So he posted it, really nice. It got picked up by Ad Age. They wrote an article. And then it led me on this journey where I met the CEO of MV Sport, which is a large company in the promotional product space. And we really hit it off. And I started a business underneath MV Sport for 3 years. So I became kind of like an entrepreneur, if you will, like starting businesses underneath a bigger organization. And I did that for 3 years. And then I left there and I started Tipped with my brother. And Tipped is a unique thing because my brother realized, and it wasn't even me, he realized how powerful the medium of YouTube is. And all these YouTube stars at the time, this is pre-Instagram, pre-Snapchat, were getting millions of views, literally millions of views, and they were living in their parents' basement. They were making zero money. And we were watching American Idol one night, and I remember we're watching it, and somebody was drinking like out of the Coca-Cola can, but really, you know, I don't think they really drink Coke, and obviously Coca-Cola is probably paying them millions of dollars. And then we're thinking, what if we could get product placement, which is so common right now, into YouTube videos, but it didn't exist at the time. It's like the Wild West. And we started brokering deals with State Farm, Colgate, Verizon into these YouTube stars videos, getting these brands millions of views and making these YouTube stars tons of money. Nice. And then when that was really successful, we said, well, what if we could do that same thing with real celebrities, not just YouTube celebrities? Like, what if we went after like Rev Run and Pitbull and 50 Cent and got their rights and licensing for their Twitter and Facebook social media. And this was very early onset of those platforms as well. So we started getting all these celebrities and bundling everything up together. The YouTube stars, the real celebrities, owning their Twitter feeds before they knew how valuable Twitter was. And ultimately that got sold to a publicly traded company. And then I kind of kept going and then ultimately started Swag.
Nice, dude. I want to go back to when you were 18 when you won the Vail Film Festival, correct?
Yep.
And you said intuitively you felt this urge, like you didn't feel like as an 18-year-old you just won this at this festival for your documentary. Yep. Did you learn somehow how to realize, you know, to go within and just recognize a gut feeling, or is this something that you just kind of picked up naturally? Like how, because most people, and 99% of the people out there would say, hey, I just won this film festival, I must be good at this thing and follow that path. But you said, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, what is that for you?
It's a good question. I do think it's more of just, I didn't study it. I didn't learn it. I think it is something natural to kind of feel my gut and know if I'm in the right place. I have like a very good sense of that. And I remember during the weekend of the film festival, I was going to see as many films as I could. This was like, something I was doing, and these amazing films. And I kept every single time I ended and I left the room, I would always think to myself, I could never do something like that. Literally, I felt like I could never do what this person just did. I don't even think the way that person's thinking. And it got me a little nervous, frankly. And I started thinking like, is this my pursuit? Is this my true calling? Is this my passion? I wasn't necessarily as passionate as you need to be. And I think anything you do in life, whether you're an entrepreneur or a filmmaker or anything, you have to really love it. You have to be to get the level that I wanted to become successful. You have to be so kind of obsessed, like to kind of like in a weird way, like obsessive. And I wasn't that way with film. So I realized that at that moment, it just 100% wasn't for me.
What made you go into film in the first place?
Yeah, so I was very into marketing all throughout high school. I was one of these weird kids who actually like commercials and like study brands. Like really, it's kind of a weird thing. I would love like why one brand sold over another. They sold pretty much the exact same thing, but how one told the story. And I went to film. When I went to BU, I was 100% going to the marketing department. That's what I wanted to do. But one day I was just thinking like, let me just see before just making that decision. Let me just look at what other kind of majors, what their curriculum is. And in the same department of communications, it was the marketing and film, is right down the hall. And I looked at the spreadsheet and I looked at all the kind of curriculum, and it was like pretty much the exact same thing with marketing and film, except for film had a little bit extra classes on how to tell stories through video. And this was right at the time of YouTube starting. And I felt like I knew YouTube was going to be huge. Even the first moment I went to, I was like, 100% this is going to take off. And I felt like if I'm going to learn something in college, I might as well learn how to tell story through the medium of film. And eventually I could probably use that to be a better marketer.
Yeah. So your time, like after that, connecting with celebrities, building Tipped, this is something that I think is not taught enough or shared enough, like how people can do this. Like what's the process? I think these days it's easier to connect with celebrities than it has ever been, really. But what's the process? Who were the first people on YouTube you started connecting with and creating partnerships? What'd that process look like? And then evolving into the bigger name celebrities?
Yeah. So we had to build a credibility. And frankly, I'll tell you the truth. It wasn't like we had this ultimate vision that ultimately we would get Pitbulls and 50 Cents and the big celebrities. I wasn't ever our intention or thought in the beginning. The real intention was to go after YouTube stars because we thought that was the Wild West and they weren't monetizing it. And there was a clear need for helping them make money and also getting brands involved. And big brands are just not thinking like that. They're not thinking of, by the way, they could have easily reached out to these YouTube stars as like we did, but they don't think to do it. So what if we build a brand like we are the agency for these YouTube stars? So we just literally reached out to all the top YouTubers. That was it, just like one by one. And then they never heard of us. They didn't know about us. But then when you get them a deal, you go to State Farm, you say, I have a relationship with Mystery Guitar Man, all these different big, or Annoying Orange, or all these kind of big YouTube stars. At the time, I think they're still pretty big. And you would get these brands and you would go to Annoying Orange and you say, hey, I'm going to pay $50,000 if you do a video for Wonderful Pistachios. Right. And you just broker the deals. And then you start building kind of a credibility that other YouTube stars knows about it because they're a network. They're kind of like a small network of people. So they're like, I just made $50,000 doing a simple video. And we had a lot of YouTube stars reaching out to us. So once we built up that kind of credibility that we were the go-to for brokering these YouTube deals, then it became, well, now that we want celebrities, how do we get in the door with these celebrities? And we had no contact whatsoever. But we knew somebody who knew somebody who knew Jesse Itzler at the time. We were followers of Jesse Itzler, and Jesse is an amazing guy, an amazing entrepreneur. And, he's the founder of Marquis Jet, private jet company. He's one of the founders of Zico Coconut Water, sold to Coca-Cola. Right. He's now the owner of Atlanta Hawks. So we felt like if we could get Jesse as a partner in this new business idea, we would have a lot easier time getting the real celebrities. So we went after Jesse, got a meeting, pitched the idea, said, we're bringing this YouTube network and audience. If you bring your celebrity audience, what an amazing thing that we could build together. So we did that. We partnered up, and then ultimately we got enough contracts that it was exciting for a public company. I'm not allowed to disclose it, but they bought the whole kind of partnership, all the rights, all the relationships that we put together for them.
And then they made it public, right? It's still running today.
Definitely the agreements are still probably running today, but it was.
They rebranded.
This has been a while ago. Yeah, rebranded. It wasn't even a business. It was literally more just relationships that we built. It wasn't like anything. It was just they just want the relationships.
When you broker a deal like that, like working with a YouTuber, how do you decide how much commission like you guys take on it? Say you do a $50,000 deal. What's your percentage that you guys would take?
Um, Honestly, I don't even remember the exact numbers. It happened so long ago. But it wasn't a huge percentage. It was just like it was fair. It was like figuring out what the YouTuber, like, how they would react to it. Is this something that they would do?
Mm-hmm.
And then also trying to figure out, well, how much does State Farm pay for a commercial? Well, if they're going to get the same eyeballs on YouTube, how much would they pay for that? Is it less? Is it more? It's, to me, I even made the case that's even more valuable having YouTube views than a TV commercial, because you can actually click into a link and actually go directly to the site.
Right.
You're watching TV. What do? You have to take out your phone. You have to.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out kind of the balance of what kind of budget these companies had and how much they were spending. We went after companies that we saw on TV a lot. So if we knew they had the budget to go on TV, they clearly had the budget to pay some YouTube stars to get more views, and for like 1/3, 1/5 the price that they would pay for a commercial on TV.
And then what would your percentage be that your company would take out of
It
that?
would be dependent on each deal. So if it's like a big deal, we might take a little bit less. If it's a smaller deal, we might take a little bit more. It was just trying to find the right balance. And I remember when we were doing this, it wasn't really about making. I mean, yes, you have to, as a business, you have to make money,
Right.
but for us, it was building relationships, which I think when you're starting off with anything, is you could do things. Don't have to always think about profit from day one, but you should think about learning. You should think about building relationships. You should think about refining and optimizing the actual product that you're offering. And then you could always figure out, how to make money, how to squeeze more money out of things along the way.
Is there an industry standard for brokers to take like a certain percentage for deals like that?
I wouldn't even know at this point. I mean,
No.
this is literally almost like 9 years ago. So I think things have changed. This is pre-Instagram. I mean, now every single, Instagrammer is making, $50,000 a post, right? This Instagram didn't exist at this point. Snapchat didn't exist. It was very early. We were making things up, as we went.
That's okay.
At this
Yeah,
point.
that makes sense. Cool, man. Let's talk about swag. Can you outline the business model for us so people understand what's really unique about swag and why you guys have been so successful?
Yeah, so swag.com is what we like to think is the best place for companies to buy quality promotional products that people will actually want to keep. So we realize is there's obviously every single company in the world buys swag. Whether you're buying it for, like, the office manager buys it for engaging with their employees and keeping the company culture thriving. HR managers buy it for onboarding new hires. You have the sales team that buys it for helping close leads and sales. Marketing team buys it for trade shows, events, or virtual events. All these different divisions buy promotional products, but oftentimes there's no really easy platform to buy it. It's very manual. Like, it's historically very manual, fragmented process where you would go to a rep and they would give you a huge catalog and you have to look through thousands upon thousands of pages or products. And then you would say, hey, can I get this t-shirt with, a front logo and the back logo? And they'd have to go back and forth 40 or so emails. Hey, well, how many colors are in your logo? Because promotional products is fully dynamic pricing. It takes in consideration quantity that you're looking to buy, how many print locations, front and the back, left sleeve, right sleeve, and the number of colors in the print. Like, it's 3-color print, it's more expensive than the 1-color print. All these things need to be worked in tandem.
Right.
And historically, a lot of the players in our industry have zero tech platform whatsoever. So out of 30,000 companies that sell promotional products, literally 99.9% of them have no website or have like a landing page, and all they do is capture emails, and then they do all of this on a manual level. There's about 100 companies that have any sort of e-commerce experience. And even some of the bigger ones that have an e-commerce experience, there's no way to even upload your logo to mock it up and see what the product looks like. So you have to submit the logo and then they have to create a mock-up for you. Very manual. So what we did from the very beginning, the initial idea is only curated products, not overwhelm you with too many options. Make sure that every product on our site has been tested, vetted by us so that people actually get the product, they actually want to keep it. And then let's create a really strong brand and a great user experience. So even the e-commerce sites, if you went through it, it would take you 10 to 15 minutes and you'd still have to do a lot of manual process after the order is placed to get the order going through the process.
Right.
Our site, less than 3 minutes. Find the product, upload your logo. Our system detects how many colors are in the logo, the nearest Pantone match, mock it up, price it out in real time, add it to your cart, and go through the checkout. Now, what we also added about 2 years ago, we started to notice that office managers and the companies in general are working from home. A lot of people were starting to work from home. So we started to build our swag distribution platform, allowing companies to buy 1,000 t-shirts and send it to their office, or click a button and send those 1,000 t-shirts to our online warehouse. We call it like our online swag closet, where they could hold all of those 1,000 t-shirts in inventory, see their inventory in real time. Whenever they're running low in stock, get smart notifications to restock. And if they want to send those 1,000 t-shirts to one address or to 1,000 different addresses, they could upload a CSV file. We'll calculate the shipping costs in real time. They pay for it.
Wow.
And now we're blasting t-shirts all over the world. So that's what we started to build out. Now, before the pandemic, it was a very nice to have because we thought the shift would happen in the next 5 years. But the pandemic made it like a necessity. Everyone's working from home. Everyone's so disconnected. So last year, where the whole industry is down between 20 and 40%, everyone's down. We were up over 100% last year. And the reason is people needed to stay connected, and we had a solution that allows them to stay connected. So they go through the site, click a button, everything's held in inventory. They could separate it. They could say, I want the marketing closet for the marketing team. Only 20 people on the marketing team should get access. I want to create an inventory closet for the sales team. Only the salespeople get access. The London office, New York office, permission settings, approval flows. We built all these different kind of swag management process that we give to our customers for free. There's no membership fee. There's nothing. We like to think of it as an extension of our e-commerce site. So just how easy it is to buy 100 t-shirts. Now you could buy 100 t-shirts, hold an inventory, distribute those 100 t-shirts, create a giveaway page, capture the recipient's address. You know, a lot of marketers have everyone's email address, but they don't know what t-shirt size you are. They don't know what address you are. On our site, you could upload your logo, select your colors, blast out a landing page. The recipient sees this thing, inputs their t-shirt size, input their address, it speaks to our system, we distribute it. So just making the whole process a lot easier for customers and also a lot cheaper because frankly, our shipping rates are a lot better than customer shipping rates, and we just pass our shipping rates to our customers. So we don't even look to make money on that side of the business. It's just to make the process seamless for them.
Right. And so do you guys have actual warehouses that are holding? Yeah. You do. Where do you find, like, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like, for me, I mean, there's got to be a limit to how much you can hold in your warehouse unless your warehouse is just ginormous, right? How do you manage that?
We're working at this point with 3PLs. So we don't build our own facility. Kind of our whole strategy as a business in general is we don't hold any inventory unless somebody pays for it. So if somebody's buying 1,000 t-shirts on our site, they actually place the order first. We are integrated with our suppliers. So once we actually get paid up front, then we owe our suppliers net 30. So we have great cash flow. The same thing with our holding own warehouse. They buy 1,000 t-shirts, we get paid up front. We then place it over with the supplier prints it, and they ship it directly to our 3PL. And we start warehousing. So we have a facility that's over 100,000 square feet, but we're using it with other companies. And now we're opening up several other locations throughout the US, one in Oklahoma City, one in New Jersey, to have just more, more bandwidth to handle things because it definitely is a challenge. You think about when you turn on the TV, you press a button and you see immediate results, right? It turns on. With distribution, it's a lot more complicated. If somebody makes a distribution of 3,000 shipments, it doesn't just ship out. It's not magic. It's not just like you need to actually get the order in. You have to have manpower to pick and package, put the stuff in the box and ship it out.
Yeah.
Ideally, we try to ship it that day or the next day, but it could be 3-4 days later. And what our goal is, if we could onboard more 3PLs, we can kind of allow that distribution process to be a lot quicker. So we can like siphon off orders and put orders here, orders there to have a lot more manpower to handle it.
Is there a limit to how long people can keep things in the warehouse? Nope. And is there a max amount?
No, they could keep it. So how we do it is we charge for certain things. So the extra charges for the platform, there's no platform fee, but there's a storage fee, and I'll get to that in a second. And then there's the pick and package and shipping fees. Now, pick and package means when somebody makes a distribution, we have to grab it off the shelf. We have to package it up. So we have a pick and package fee that includes the packaging, the tape, the labeling, the resources to actually package the stuff up and then ship it out. Our feeling is, and what we've seen is that our shipping rate plus the pick and package is less expensive than if somebody had to ship it out themselves because our rates are a lot less in shipping. And also, obviously, we're saving people time from it not having to ship thousands of stuff to their office or to their home at this point and packaging things up, which would be a nightmare. The storage fee is a very nominal fee. What we do is when somebody buys, let's say 1,000 t-shirts, the first 14 days that's in that warehouse, it's free. We don't charge a storage fee. So if somebody just wants to buy stuff in a warehouse so that we can consolidate it and ship it out immediately, their intention is to distribute swag. We're just using the 3PL as a central place to consolidate. So we're not actually charging a storage fee for that. That's not the intention. If they start holding things over 14 days, we charge 1 cent per day. That's it. Like the 3PLs, any warehouse has a very kind of convoluted and confusing process of how they charge. They have like receiving fees. They have pallet building fees. They have labeling fees. They have all these fees that if we ever want to show our customers, they would be like, what are you talking about? We're not dealing, right? We're not dealing with logistics experts. We're dealing with marketing teams and HR managers and office managers. So what we try to do is simplify it as much as possible. If you have 1,000 t-shirts on Monday, it's 1,000 cents for that day, which is $10. If you distribute 900 t-shirts on Tuesday, you're left with 100 t-shirts. That's 100 cents, which is $1.
Right.
So we only charge you 1 cent per the day that's actually happening. You see the storage fee in real time. End of the month, you have to pay it off.
Has anybody ever forgot about their inventory with you? They're just like 3 years later, they're like, oh yeah, I forgot
No,
I had it.
well, that might happen, but at this point, we've only really launched it January, February of 2020. So it's only been a year at this point.
Oh, with the not with Swag, but
Distribution
with
side.
the district. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Got it.
e-commerce side of Swag has been, since January 2016. We have
Yeah.
over 5,000 customers, but now it's been only a year at this point with our distribution platform.
I love this model. What made you come up with that? Like, where was the idea that hey, let's give these people a place to store their swag while they're waiting to distribute it and send it out instead of them having to do it in a back office.
Do themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
So our initial idea was, let's get into the business from making it a simple e-commerce experience. So forget the distribution, just allowing people to easily buy stuff. And that's how our industry is set up. It's for easily buying, and then you drop ship it directly to their office. That was the common thing.
Right.
My co-founder and I, we were in Techstars. It's like a tech incubator. We were in Chicago. And one of the meetings that was set up with us was an office manager at this company called, I forget the name exactly, Hot Jelly or Jelly something. And we went to the office manager and I was talking to her, and she had something called account-based marketing. Now, I never heard of this term ever, and they were very early to be doing this, but the whole concept of account-based marketing is the ability to send gifts to somebody to make them act. So whether it's a customer to say thank you, whether it's a lead, you send somebody, they're 10 times more likely to act if you send them a gift. How many things as a salesperson can you possibly do? You give them a phone call, you send them an email, you ping them a link. You get annoying at some point, but if you send somebody a gift, what are they going to say? They're going to say thank you. People are programmatically, and this is something that we realized, to avoid ads at all costs, right? Just think about it. People skip through commercials, right? They fast forward. People flip through the ads in the magazine. People online, they put the ad blocker and they're avoiding ads at all costs. What do you say when somebody gives you something of quality? Someone gave you cookies, or someone gave you a nice hat that had their logo on it that's really high quality, a nice water bottle. You're going to say thank you. It's literally the only thing where you actually say thank you and you feel like appreciate it. It's something that you actually want.
Yeah.
It does the exact opposite if it's throwaway. If it's products that end up in the trash or not quality, it not only costs your company money for buying that stuff, but it tarnishes your brand.
Right.
So we just said we have to make sure it's high quality stuff. And now if we're allowing people to distribute swag or sending leads, like you can't always fly across the country for that business meeting. What if you could press a button and then it does it for you? So that was like the idea for it. And from 2017, we started to really game plan and figure out how to really build this in a really elegant, organic way that is simple for the customer, because it is a very complex thing. And we're still working through all the kinks. There's a lot of moving parts to fulfillment. There's a lot of breakage points. Realistically, imagine somebody buys 1,000 mugs and they want to hold an inventory. What if 90 of the mugs break in transit? It's like not necessarily our fault. It's UPS's fault. It's whoever's fault, right? Mm-hmm. We have to replace those mugs, and the customer expects to have 1,000, but now they have not. So you do that. What if you're doing swag boxes for somebody and they have a notebook and a pen, the water bottle and this, and what if one of the vendors just happens to, somebody gets sick, especially with COVID, this happened a lot, where vendors in the middle of their day just have to shut down for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So then we can't actually kit boxes because we're waiting on one product that was supposed to be delivered, and now we have to go to customer and apologize. So there's so many things that are just out of our control. So we're trying to constantly learn that, refine it, have backup kind of plans, and just, be very open to our customers and being proactive and telling them what's going on and being just honest about it. If something's out of our control, we're going to do everything we can, even to fix it. Because at the end of the day, if they're buying from us, they're buying from us. They don't care that it's a supplier issue. They don't care if it's a COVID issue. They don't care if it's UPS issue. They care that they're not getting the products on time. So we're just constantly trying to figure out how to be, very open and very, proactive to make sure they have a great experience.
To your point about having really good quality swag, it's so true. I can think of the business conferences that I've been to and the t-shirts that they give out during those conferences. And one year this conference had a really good high quality eco shirt that felt so nice. And all the other times they created t-shirts, the t-shirts maybe last 2, max 3 years. That shirt's now 5 years old and I still wear it on a regular basis. And it's just it means something. Also like pins. I got this pin as well. When you give out high quality swag, it says something about your brand, but also it's really etching into people's minds the quality of the company that you're running. And I couldn't, like, it's such a genius idea what you guys are doing. I couldn't, recommend it more for the entrepreneurs out there.
Thank you.
Think about high quality swag. Always, always, always. Cool. I want to talk about, you've created these amazing partnerships in your past business, but now you've done that with Swag as well. So like you have partnerships with TikTok, Facebook, Google, Amazon, Netflix, and Spotify. What are some of the strategies that you've used to create these type of partnerships, and how did they develop, and what are they today?
Yeah. So early on, when you're starting as a business, you have no relationships historically. Right. And I think most entrepreneurs are always told, this kind of like ingrained in entrepreneurs' minds, to start at the bottom and work your way up. Like you see it all over the place. You're never going to get Facebook from day one, build your credibility, build up this, build up that. And then ultimately, and Josh and I, my co-founder, we just didn't want to wait, frankly. And we thought we didn't need that. We had a really strong brand that could kind of maybe cut through some noise and give us some credibility, even if we didn't have any credibility in the space. So we did is, our goal was to get Facebook from day one. It was to get WeWork from day one. It was to go after these big blue chip global companies from day one, because our feeling is, even if we didn't have a site, if we just had a landing page with a picture of a t-shirt, right, on swag.com that said coming soon or updating, and it had a row of logos with Facebook and Google and Netflix and all these companies would instantly trust us. They'd be like, oh, swag.com is a real place, so that we could actually go after customers and learn. So our first year it was interesting. We became traveling salesmen for the first 3 months just to get those blue chip companies. I couldn't care less about making money. I didn't care about the margin. I honestly would have paid for some of these customer logos. Like I remember when we sold to Facebook, it was our first customer. We were in the door. We sold to Facebook 3,000 t-shirts. I made maybe 5% margin. I basically gave it away for free. And I left the office talking to Josh, and I said, I would have paid $5,000 to have Facebook buy that stuff from us. Like to us, it was all about getting that logo, because the second day I knew how powerful it was. The second day when I went to WeWork, and they asked me, who else do you work with? That's literally the question when you're starting up. They say, who else do you work with? I said Facebook, and they probably assume we had thousands of customers, but really it was literally just Facebook, because this was day two. And we got WeWork. And then when WeWork, and it was very important for us to get WeWork in the very beginning, because WeWork had this thing called the WeWork Summer Camp. I don't know if you heard of this, but basically they have 5,000 kids or adults or young adults who work at WeWork in different companies, go to a campground for 3 days and just party their faces off. Right. It was just one of these things where it was like a big thing, and they had Ice Cube perform. It was like a massive global party 4 hours outside of New York City. And it was a big deal. And our feeling was, this is literally the month 2 of our entire business. We have to get this deal. We have to make the t-shirts for WeWork Summer Camp. There was no other alternative. I would have paid $20,000 of my own personal money to get this deal. And the reason for every t-shirt that we sell says swag.com on the inner label. It says swag.com, size large, we made this our tagline. So 5,000 people are now seeing that WeWork, the social proof that WeWork's using swag.com. They now learn who swag.com is. They'll ultimately check out who swag.com is. And we got this deal. We probably ultimately lost money on the deal. We probably made 10% margin on the actual order. They said to us, have you ever rolled, 5,000 t-shirts? Because rolling it to make it easy to give out. We're like, of course we have. Of course we have. All the time. It's literally week 2 of our business. All the time, 100%. I went back, asked my parents, my grandma, this is no joke, there's pictures, aunts, uncles, sister. We're rolling t-shirts for 3 days in my house, rolling t-shirts. It was a nightmare. We ended up rolling 5,000 t-shirts, renting a U-Haul, driving 4 hours to the campground the night before. And that was it. Then we went to the summer camp, and we got literally 30 customers just from that one WeWork summer camp. In the early days, it's so hard to get anybody. Now we're getting customers, we're getting partners, we're getting our name out there. We're getting more WeWork orders because now they trust us. We did a great job. It was just it was everything in the beginning. So that was like the early days of just hustling. And then the strategy shifted. It became, well, now that we have enough social proof, we don't need to be traveling salesmen anymore. That's not necessarily effective with our time. We have to build a product that could handle the sales automatically. So those first kind of 30 to 50 customers that we got early days, it was to get the social proof, but it was also really just to learn who the customer is, learn who should we go after. Should we go after the marketing team? Should we go after the office manager? Like, who are we really kind of going after? And we realized from the early days, the office manager should be our first kind of target. Even though we knew that there's other divisions that spend way more on swag, we figured that the marketing team is probably bombarded by the 30,000 companies in the space. The sales teams are probably being bombarded. The HR teams, the office manager, no one really thinks to go to the office manager, but they still have a budget. It's not as big a budget. Everyone's always trying to hunt the biggest budgets. But our strategy was different. It was, how do we just get into the company? Forget about the first sale. It's about the second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. It's like a Trojan horse strategy.
Right.
Get the 22 to 23-year-old office manager to buy 100 t-shirts. What's going to happen with that is that every t-shirt says swag.com. They're going to be giving it out to the marketing team. They're going to be giving it out to the sales team. Now, the other departments say, wow, our company uses internally swag.com. Maybe I should use swag.com for my needs. And it became kind of like a Trojan horse to get in and expand. And we started to really learn who our buyer is so we could build the right platform for them. And then we launched the first version of our e-commerce site in 2017. And up until, I mean, it's not finalized yet, but we just made an offer on our first outbound sales hire ever. So we did over 15 million in sales last year, and we've had 0 outbound sales, which is,
wow.
It's a big accomplishment in our industry because our industry is, everyone's doing sales. It's all about outbound sales teams, and we have none. It's completely inbound. It's completely self-serve. It's completely product focused. And now our organization is going from like a product, strictly product focused, to now obviously keeping up the product, but now adding a layer of a sales team as well on top of it.
And why'd you decide? I mean, do you feel like, you're going with the outbound sales now or working towards that? What was the point where you said, okay, we need to start making this as like outside of the company to streamline, or like what was reasoning?
Yeah, the reasoning in the beginning to not do outbound sales was very focused, because when you ever add a salesperson, it adds more work, it adds more friction.
Right.
If someone could land on my site and they could do it themselves, our site is that easy, or they could upload their logo, mock it up. Why add friction with the salesperson? So we've always been very focused on not having a salesperson. But recently we realized for us to get the bigger deals, the more enterprise level deals, the $100,000+ deals, we need an outbound sales strategy. Because what happens is, imagine I'm trying to sell you. I send you an email. Hey, name is Jeremy. I work for swag.com. We're the best place, blah, 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 blah. We'd love for you to check out swag.com. Now, if I reached out to you today, you're most likely not looking for swag, right? I have no idea who you are. I just know that you work for a company. You have 50 to 1,000 employees and you're an office manager. I know your role, but I have no idea your use case. I don't know when you're buying it. When you click on our link and you go to our site, now you're going to see how easy the process is. You're going to see our brand. You're going to see who we work with. You're going to feel kind of connected to swag.com. The brand name is going to stick inside your mind, so that 8 months later, when you actually do want swag and your boss says, hey, can you buy some swag? You're going to hear swag.com. You're going to remember swag.com. You're going to be retargeted with swag.com. And you'll ultimately won't have to go to Google to search for a company. You'll just type directly into the browser, swag.com. So our feeling is, to get those bigger deals, we need to kind of get on the radar way earlier than when they're even looking. Because when they're looking, we're competing with 5 other companies who are doing Google ads. We're competing with 20 other companies who have content marketing. Like there's more of a competition at that point. And people are probably more price sensitive also at that point, because they're price shopping, and a lot of people, I always say, is like, you should price shop 100%. You need to feel confident with the price, but don't overprice shop, because it's not apples to apples. Like, it's not the same products on each site. So if you see one product that looks similar, trust us, it's not. We've seen thousands of products that look the same, pens that all look the same, and you write them, it can't write at all. We're kind of curating it and making sure that every product on our site has been hand vetted and tested amongst other similar products as well. And it's very hard to get that across when customers are price shopping so much. So we really want people to get in the door and understand that they're going to feel confident with what they buy from us.
You did 15.5 in 2020. What's your goal for 2021?
Our goal is to do over 30. Every year we want to keep growing, and we think it's very possible. It's weird because typical years, there's a lot of seasonality to the business. So just for example, I can even go through last year. 2020 was obviously the weirdest year ever for everybody, but January and February of 2020 were more than double the January, February of the previous year, 2019. March comes around, pandemic launches, 200,000 the first week of March. The second week of March, we do 19,000. So it becomes like, well, what the hell's going on? And by the way, and the truth is, it makes a lot of sense. And that's the reason why the whole industry is really, really down. Office managers are not necessarily buying swag because there's no office. No one's in the office. HR managers are not buying swag because there's no one being hired at this point. Event marketing team's not buying swag because there's no events, there's no marketing, right? So there's all these divisions that are just completely shutting down. Our bread and butter business just doesn't exist really. So we had to think outside the box, and we really went all in on the distribution platform, because we said, if everyone's so disconnected, what can we do to allow companies to be more connected than ever? And distribution was the answer to us. So our sales went from like 850, 350, 400. Like, it went like more than half. And then it started building up, so that in November of last year, we did 3.4 million. In December, we did 3.25 million. So our feeling is, every year, it usually starts a little bit slower, and then it picks up a little bit around March, April, but that's typically because of trade shows and events.
Right.
This year, it's going to be very different because there are no trade shows and events. Our feeling is the first half of the year is going to be very slow just by the nature of the use case. But the second half of the year is going to be really, really huge because if the pandemic starts to end and people are getting back into the office, if people are needing to hire more people, a lot of onboarding kids, if people want to do gifting to their best customers, which happens usually in Q4, or gifting to their remote employees, which happens in Q4, it's going to be super, super busy the second half of the year. So we're trying to figure out, use cases for now to try to fill those gaps. And we've done pretty well so far. So we're just trying to keep it up and trying to get those numbers.
How big is the team, Jeremy, at Swag?
We have about 35 people in New York, and we have a team of 18 developers in Ukraine.
Gotcha. Cool. And I got to ask you, it seems like you've been a natural prodigy of whatever you've thrown yourself into since a very young age. You won the Vail Film Festival, then you started another business, build up, tipped into a company that could be sold, worked with all these influencers, a company that can be sold and publicly traded. And it seems like you're really good at picking winners. So I'm curious, I think you're 34 now. Is that right?
35.
35. And so why do you think either you're good at picking winners, or what do you think that like magical spark is for you that that people either don't have or don't know about themselves?
I don't necessarily know if I'm good at picking winners. I've definitely had failures as well. There's been startups that I've launched that just have never materially taken off. And I think for me, it's just being okay with the failure and being okay to learn from the failure and be okay just getting better. And I think just putting yourself out there, I think a lot of entrepreneurs get in their own way and they get fearful that, oh, is my idea good enough? Am I the right person to do it? And they just prevent themselves from doing great things. And I think for me, I've never really had that fear. That fear just doesn't exist inside me. So I'm okay, when people kind of judge me or think that, this is not going to work out, because that's like outside pressure. I'm totally okay with that. And I'm also okay when I launch something, if it doesn't work right away, because I never expect it to launch right away. And I try to teach my team right now that when we do a feature, it's most likely not going to work from day one, but hopefully we'll learn something from it and we'll keep improving it. And as long as we can keep learning from our customers and keep improving, ultimately the idea will be great. And that's it. I think just as if you're open-minded, that you're super consistent with things and you keep trying to work towards a goal and make things better and better and better, you're going to get to the place where you want to be. You just have to be consistent. And a lot of people, I think, once they hit any type of roadblocks or any kind of fear or internal doubts or even anything, they just give up or they start second guessing themselves. And at that point, I know that's part of the process. So I just push through.
Nice. What's your long-term goal as an entrepreneur? Say 40 years from now, what do you want your legacy to be?
I just want to obviously be successful, but I want to have fun with it. I want to enjoy my life. I think you have to enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise, what's the point of life? It's not just to make money. It can't just be the goal of everyone to make money. Trust me, there's way easier ways to make money than being an entrepreneur. It's one of the hardest things possibly. If it was just about money, I would have sucked it up and I would have became like a hedge fund or a banker. I just would have done right. There's way easier ways. But you have to love it. And I love it. I love having an idea and I love seeing the idea come to life. And I love the ups and the downs of it. And ultimately, even if things really work out and I sell Swag or we go public, whatever happens with Swag and I become super successful, I want to make it the most successful that it possibly could be. And then, you start something else, start something new later on. To me, it's just about creating, building, and really, making a change and making a difference.
Right. That's very cool. And I know you're passionate about spreading positivity and kindness. You actually started up an app, and I don't know if it's still live or not, called Up, which allows you to anonymously spread kindness to the world. Is that still going?
No, I haven't worked on that. It was really a passion project. So what happened was I was trying to figure out what my next move was going to be. This was after one of my companies, Vouch, it was a social networking app. It got 100,000 plus users, celebrity, a lot of people involved. It just didn't work out. It didn't take off to where it needed to be. And did that for 3 years, literally. And I was thinking to myself, what's the next business? And during that kind of down period where I was thinking of Swag and trying to get that process going, I said, you know what, let me build an app. This is at the right time. There's an app called Whisper and there's an app called, I think it was called Secret, that was literally ruining, or Yik Yak. There's another company. It was all these anonymous apps that were raising millions upon millions of dollars, and they were literally designed to bully people. That's literally all they did. It was just like bullying. It was high school kids. Oh yeah, it was like anonymous bullying. It was, look it up, secret yik yak. It was people just like making fun of people anonymously.
Wow.
And I just thought that was like, what's wrong with people? So I tried to build an app on my free time, that could literally just be anonymous kindness. So you could send somebody a message. And I figured a lot of people are not very open about complimenting somebody or giving somebody the pat on the back. People are kind of maybe fearful, especially high school. You might be like the popular kid and you might see somebody getting bullied. You don't want to put yourself out on the line for whatever social pressure. So I thought it could be an interesting thing because most people are good in this world. But you got to maybe make it easier for them to be good. So if we can give them, allowing them to send a message. So I did that for a little bit. I hope I helped, people, but then at some point when Vouch, was taking off, I allowed our partners in that to continue to run it. And I don't think they've kept it up as well as they probably should have.
I'm curious, I'm kind of passionate about this spreading positivity and kindness to the world. What are ways that, Jeremy, what are some things on a daily basis that you implement that to make sure it's a regular part of your life?
For me, I'm Orthodox Jewish, so I do pray every morning and I do tefillin. And I think for me, it's an important thing. After I work out, I have a routine in the morning and I do my prayer, and I'm thankful for what I have and hopeful for the future. I think just setting your mindset into a positive place, I think just makes you a better person overall. And then throughout the day, it's like, I don't think there's one thing you could do. I think just be a good person, be kind, be compassionate. Understand that we're all dealing with stuff, and people, let's say employees mess up one day, everyone's, disconnected, everyone's scared, everyone's working from home, everyone hasn't seen their family or friends, like understanding where people are and what they're, what everyone's going through. I think just having a little bit more compassion with everything, I think just makes people, makes the world a little bit better.
I love that, man. Anything else, Jeremy, you'd like to say to the listeners before we wrap up?
Obviously, come and check us out, swag.com. You can reach out to me, Jeremy Parker, at LinkedIn. Love to hear from you and love to help you guys out with whatever you need.
Cool. Jeremy, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks for sharing all your tips and tricks and wisdom with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thanks for having me.
And listeners, we're going to wrap up there. Thank you guys for tuning in once again, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.